You're listening to the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. How we doing? How we doing? Today I had an interesting thought. How did I become a 49er fan? And it really startled me a little bit. The 49ers have had a really, really tough season. And it's much different than anything else I've ever seen in the 49ers organization. But I wanted to take a moment and just really look back, being born and raised in the city of San Francisco, and understanding that you start out in the city of San Francisco. I was a newspaper boy. And as a newspaper boy, what you get, you can throw the Chronicle, the Examiner, or the San Francisco Progress. And that was the paper route that I had. I had to throw the Chronicle, early bird gets the worm. And you'd also go out and collect from your customers, but they'd send them to you in a stack. It would be a huge stack of papers, and you'd have to roll them up, and sometimes they'd have advertising stack, and you have to put the ads in there. But along the way, I was doing that. You're a young boy in the city of San Francisco. You really found there's a sports section in the San Francisco Chronicle. And as my grandfather and my family all growing up in San Francisco, being born and raised, they were 49er fans, and they would watch the 49ers at Kezar Stadium. And Kezar was a place that not only they play the football, they would play Turkey Day there, as in San Francisco. And of course, I went to McAteer High School in San Francisco. So I'm looking back and the players, and as a lot of players and family and friends went to Balboa High School and played against McCoy, Steve Sewell, Denver Broncos, grew right up on the same block as me. And we all became football fans. We'd play it in Ocean View Park. And so, but the story went even more because I was able to know the players, as my uncle and my grandfather, the players used to walk from Kezar Stadium. They would go up and have drinks with the fans. It was an open relationship. And so as it moved along, I eventually, next job, as I was having, my good friend Bobby Johnson grew up, and he went to McAteer as well. And I played quarterback for McAteer High School and Coach Griffin, and set off where we were competing and beat Lincoln High School, which was a major power in San Francisco football. But I was able to work for Harry M. Stevens, and that was through my good friend, my best friend, Bobby Johnson, growing up. And what it was Harry M. Stevens controlled all the vendors. And I had an opportunity to go in there, I believe it was like 14 years old, 13, 14 years old. I knew about the Niners before, but I was working in the stadium. And in Harry M. Stevens, you'd work from the pregame till the third quarter, and then the fourth quarter, you can just watch the game. So I'd find the best seat I could, and I'd go watch the 49er games. And I remember a running back that really, really just was amazing, and he had no quit, and his name was Paul Hofer. His name, war number 36 was Paul Hofer, and that was the running back that I looked upon, and I said, if from a game to play the game of football, as we played it in the middle of the concrete street, really throw to the Buick. As you see here on any day Sunday, you could run into a Buick while trying to catch a pass in the city of San Francisco because there's no parking on the streets. But nevertheless, I was able to not only go in, and as at McAteer High School, I also had an opportunity where I played with Pete Stoneham. And at McAteer, he was our catcher, and we're playing baseball. And I played shortstop, right field, center field, anywhere. It just didn't matter. But the number one thing was with Pete Stoneham, his grandfather was Horace Stoneham. And he was the owner of the San Francisco Giants. And the Giants and the 49ers were coming right hand in hand working in the stadium. And then as we move forward, seeing all the games, all the players, even seeing the goalposts go down. But one thing I did notice is the DeBartellos bought the 49ers, and that was the change of the 49ers, the way they did business. And the number one hire was Bill Walsh, was for the San Francisco 49ers, and he was from Stanford University, the same as John Lynch and as many other coaches who have coached within the 49ers, Jim Harbaugh, They come from Stanford. So, but nevertheless, seeing Bill Walsh take the team and to have us beat Tampa Bay as I was at that game. And one of the things I noticed is I seen all of it, the catch. I've seen everything that could happen in a game. I was there. And the love for the 49ers grew as Bill Walsh began to grow the team. And in 1981, after Bill Walsh had the team, he brought in, and the 49ers went on and won the Super Bowl. And that was the standard that the NFL lived by. And if that was the standard that the NFL lived by, that's the standard I live for by in my life. Because in San Francisco, we had a parade. And when we went to the parade changed everybody's life in San Francisco because we had a standard that the 49ers set. The 49ers, as I continued to go on and watch Joe Montana, I remember being at the game as they trotted in Joe Montana to replace Steve DeBerg. And from that day on, 49ers fans never looked back as to what it meant to be a champion and be a winning organization. Being a 49er fan meant that you stood for equality, as Eddie DeBartolo stood to make sure he treated every player on the 49ers the best he could. And one of the things I really noticed is Jed York was shaking hands, and no one understood that. Why was he doing that? Jed York was apologizing because the standard of the 49ers being born and raised is much higher than what was displayed this year. But being a fan of the Niners, meaning you were the fan of being the best at everything you did. And Bill Walsh took the team and became the best on offense and the best on defense. And being a fan and being young, 14, 15, 16, understanding that you could be number one in defense and number one in offense. And he did that in collaboration with George Seifert. And they didn't always agree, but they stayed together because he believed 100% that George Seifert could run that defense. And along the way, after I graduated from high school, I went to play for George Rush at City College of San Francisco. Well, at the same time, there was Mike McDade, and Mike Turner, who was Keena Turner's younger brother from Chicago. Two players. Mike McDade went on to play for Las Vegas from City College, played with Randall Cunningham, and Mike McDade played in the NFL. As I was passing through on a media event, I saw Keena, and I told him to tell Mike hello, because that was a big moment to be playing in City College of San Francisco, but also have a brother who was his brother, Mike Turner. Keena Turner was on the world champion San Francisco 49ers as a linebacker. So the game and the love grew even more for the standard, and as the players came in, Jerry Rice came in from the HBCU. And it was important to understand, it wasn't at that time I understood, but today, Dwayne Board, Tim McKyer, there's so many HBCU players who are from and were within the 49ers organization, Dwight Hicks. Folks, I don't need to look at charts to tell you this because it's born and bred in my heart. And as a part of the media today, having covered the first opportunity that I received in Chico, California, I worked for the Chico Enterprise Record. I covered high school football. And the editor, I believe his name was Dave at the time, Aaron Rodgers had been drafted and was playing with the Packers. And he brought it to the attention, and he said, I said, wow, anybody going to cover the NFC Championship? That's a great assignment. And basically, he said, no, nobody wants to do it. And then I said, well, okay, went on back, did high school game. And then he came back and said, Mike, I've got this credential sitting here. Nobody wants to do it. I said, I'll do it. Because I had a love of understanding what it meant, and that was for Aaron Rodgers at Cal. But back to the story at hand is it gave me an opportunity to see Peter King, understanding that I'm still a fan of the Niners, but as a member of the media, you must be objective. It got me an opportunity to see how Jay Glazer works. and how the pros and meeting at the St. Francis Hotel and understanding what it means to get on a Hall of Fame best of journalists, of media, correspondents, and understand how the business works. But it was all built from the standard of Eddie DiBartolo. He treated his coaches and his players with the utmost respect. He cared about them as men, and he cared about as family. And I became a fan of that because I knew the 49ers, everybody in the NFL wanted to come play for the 49ers because the players knew they were treated better than the other players in the league. And as I look on and come forward today, and I continue on, time and time again, the 49ers won. And that's when I understood, even working in the stands, even working afterward and going on the field at the time when the game was over, as fans were allowed to go on the field in the NFL, and they went on the field and tore the goalposts down, right? I'm finished, I'm there. It's the most exciting moment ever. But you still have to go in there and understand Eddie DiBartolo set a standard that no one else could match in the National Football League. He treated his players so good, and he was willing to pay them so much money, the NFL had to put in a salary cap. But not stopping there, they still went on time and time after Jerry Rice, Terrell Owens, and even in my mind, the best running back, even you watch Christian McCaffrey, the love of a football and being a player and understanding what it means. Ricky Watters was a tremendous running back for the 49ers that we didn't get a chance to see, but he put up another 10,000 yards up in Philadelphia. The 49ers had a standard. They had an HBCU standard that I understood when John Taylor was coming out of Delaware State and understanding Jerry Rice was coming out of Mississippi Valley State. And to understand and see the position of the 49ers on Black Lives Matter, and I look at the standard, are we still exceeding or underachieving within that standard? And I only tell you this is how I become a fan, because everybody that bleeds the 49ers, that's in their heart. That the Bay Area, we've had up times and we've had down times. We've had earthquakes in the middle of a World Series. Right there in the middle of the World Series, by the grace of God, nobody was on the bridge that's normally packed with was heavy traffic. But still, we went on as a city, and the city was proud to say, we have the San Francisco 49ers, we have the San Francisco Giants, we have the Oakland A's, and we have the Oakland Raiders. And we stood on those principles as loyalty because each of those franchises had a standard. The swinging A's could win 3 World Series and come back, and Billy Martin could coach there, and he'd have pitchers throw complete games. I witnessed all this because BART was initialized in the Bay Area in 1977. So I could go from San Francisco on the BART train right there off of Ocean Avenue and take it right to work at the Oakland Coliseum. So not only did I work at the 49ers, Giants, but I also went and did the A's and the Raiders working in the stadium. And that it was all started from the day one. You talk about being a 49er fan, well, you sell sodas, and then you go to peanuts, and then you go to chocolate malts, and then you go to hot dogs. Okay, you keep working, and then you go to Polish sausage. So it was every day that you had to go in there, and I've walked every single step in Candlestick Park. Multiple times, the entire stadium in one day of work. So you knew everything that happened, you were able to be close to the action. You could always have a section. And it went all the way. You had one objective, and this was being most excited about being a fan. I was serving and became 21, and I could serve beer. And the beer would be in one section. And I had my good friend Mike, who was the trainer at Cal, and he went to Chico State, and he says, you know what, come up to section 60. And that was the standard. As even though you were working and you were in college together, the 49er standard stayed the same. Now today, I look at it and I say, it's not the same standard. It's not. And everyone poses the question, and in the media, you have to be objective. Well, the objective is being true, because one of the things I told you with Lowell Cooney, it was just great to work. But the other one's Larry Fitzgerald's father. Okay, and Mr. Fitzgerald was just a outstanding individual. I had an opportunity to sit there and not only cover the game, but have a conversation with him. And he shared the wisdom with me. These are events that you look at, and whatever the 49ers been able to do, it's changed many people's lives, and it's changed my life. I only say this today because today the 49ers are in turmoil. And I'm just hoping and praying, but also being objective. The 49ers have to have a coach that coaches football and not a coach that has to have someone else come in and do the job. Bill Belichick has 7 Super Bowls, 8 Super Bowls, even up to 9 Super Bowls because he did the job. He didn't need a defensive coordinator. He did it himself. And he taught Tom Brady how to be Tom Brady. And then Tom Brady became a man and he became his own man, which is rightfully what any father would want. But at the same time, the coaches cannot depend. And folks, the standard is low. It started with Steve Wilkes. You alienated that. And Anthony Lynn was a tremendous running back coach. And now I move to objectiveness to just let you know there's been some mistakes. And the mistakes can't be covered up. And the media now is not accepting it. I watched the final press conference as they said to him, you know, there's one thing, you don't even watch special teams. He took it as offense, and John Lynch, from the bottom of his heart, he's from Stanford. That's 49er family. The Stanford connection and the players that have went and played from Stanford who have come over and played in the 49ers organization, that's royalty. And it goes all the way back to me playing against Brent. You know, you look at Brent Jones playing at Santa Clara University. You look at some of the guys that I've even played against. But one thing I know for sure, in defense, it's a little different. You need one set of guys. You need one voice. And it's not personality. Because one of the greatest defense to ever play the game, Chicago Bears, 1985. Mike Ditka and Buddy Ryan didn't get along. But one thing's for sure. Mike Ditka was honest enough to admit, I never won a Super Bowl without Buddy Ryan. So there was definitely something there. That's where Kyle Shanahan is. We're going to go face to face. But I will tell you this, there's something wrong here. And this is not the 49ers. This is not how we treat people. Even knowing that I growing up, knowing the father, Gus Armstead of Eric Armstead, Man of the Year, being a nominee, being in the community, understanding and knowing the father, Lucky Witherspoon of Ahkello Witherspoon, who's going to the playoffs with the Rams. These are people that I know personally and have known them since they were children that are playing for the 49ers are no longer playing. Even Terrence Mitchell, understanding his father, my good friend Paul Nunn. These are individuals that the miners have went and started treating players this way. We've never been the flea market growing up in San Francisco. That was operating was well done in San Jose. We've never been a flea market team. We've been an organization that drafted, and we were an organization that believed in winning. Face to face, I promise you, I will give it to you. And I wanted to let you know I will be objective as I cover the 49ers and bring it to you. But also know that I'm a tremendous fan being born and raised in San Francisco. And I love the 49ers. But right now, there's no way I can stand behind what the 49ers have done to the organization. And I say this to you to just say we can do better. We must do better.